All right, what's happening, BE3? Jeff Beggins and
Mike Puma.
All right, you got a fired up group here today watching because we are totally ramped up still from RGX and the Century 21 121 conference. And what's fun for me is I think my takeaway from the conference is a little different than other people's takeaway from this one. And I want to get your perspective on your takeaways too on this too. So let's start with mine because I think it's an interesting conversation piece.
Okay.
Right.
I'm always scared when you say stuff like that, but
so you're probably not going to like this.
I can already tell this is going to go downhill very quickly.
All right. There's two sides. There were two sides to this industry. There was the buyer side and there was the seller side.
Correct.
I'm very convinced after this last week at the conference that there's only one side left, and that one's marginally hanging on. And the side that is gone is the buyer side. And let me tell you what I mean by that one. Okay. I was going through an example this morning at the sales meeting, and to kind of drive this point home, and I was sitting next to one of our agents, Tony, and I said, everybody, let me introduce you to Tony. Tony's a pre-approved buyer. He's got $650,000 in his pocket. He's pre-approved. His lease is up. He has to buy. He's ready to go. He knows the neighborhood. There's 3 houses he has to choose from. He's ready to close. He'll be moving in 30 days. I can't take him. Who wants to work with Tony? And what do you think happened? Everybody raised their hand.
Yep.
And I said, here's the thing. Would you pay me a 25% referral fee for that guy? And they all said, hell yeah. I said, who would pay me 30? Who would give me a 35% referral fee? Hand went up. Who would pay 40%? Who would split the deal with me?
You auctioned yourself off.
Auction this off. Who would split this deal with me? Guys, the guy's pre-approved, 650, gonna close. Who would split the deal with me? Who would take a 40% referral fee?
Like you paid them.
I would give you 60% of the deal. And someone said, sure, I'll take it. And said, who would take a 30% referral fee? Who would take a 25% referral fee? Hands went up. Listen, guys, there's only 3 houses you need to show them. Who would take $500? Right? Who would take $250? Hands are still
no hands.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, there's facial expressions at this point,
like,
but there's still
hurt, but
I'll take it.
I'll do it.
And I said, all right. Here's the thing. Who would do it for free? Right, and I got a couple of those responses,
and
then I got girl sitting right in this chair earlier today. So I'll do it
for free.
For free. And I said, why would you do that? She goes, well, because I know that the lifetime value of that customer is $130,000, and I'll deliver a great experience, and all of his friends will end up using me. He'll use me in the future, and I'll get all of his sphere and his network and his tribe, which I thought was a pretty creative response to that. But it also drove back a serious issue that came to me after the conference, which is that everything drives down to zero, right?
Everything, yeah.
Right. We were joking before the MBA basic thesis when I was doing it way back when was entitled The Greater Whore Theory. There's always somebody that'll whore themselves out greater than the next person until it drives down to zero margin. Right. That happens in every industry. And it's no different than this one. Right. So that's the question that I have is if this business is going this way, which it is, what does USAA take? What does Cardis take? What does Zillow take? What does Redfin take? What does every reload department take? What does every mortgage company selling leads for? Everybody's taking a swipe at the buyer side because I went through this Tony example saying, here's Tony. Tony is teasing 20 agents right now because he clicked on a house on Zillow. He clicked on a house on Trulia. He clicked on a house through Redfin. He clicked on one through Coldwell Banker. He went to an open house. He went into a new home model center. He clicked on some other random website, and now there's 17, 20 agents that have Tony in their database of a potential lead, right? Yep. Which is clouding the hell out of the industry, and Tony's going to end up being a USAA member who's going to be routed to somebody with a big-ass swipe out of the top, and they're still going to take the deal. So there's an issue I see here, and I watch too many agents, and let me stress that, there's too many agents, right? There's too many agents in an industry with a limited amount of buyers that are going to whore themselves down and are at the mercy of who's selling them that leads and at what cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you look at Zillow, you look at, any of the platforms, Realtor.com, it doesn't matter. they've all done an excellent job at driving the awareness, right? They have more attention of the consumer than anyone else, right? And so when you're competing, when you think this through as a real estate agent, you're already in one of the most competitive fields on the planet.
Did you watch Miami Vice this weekend?
I did. I was waiting for the Miami Vice.
I was going to compliment the blue shirt, but the Miami Vice just kept flashing into my brain.
I almost unbuttoned 4 buttons just to with a necklace, gold chain, just to make it true Miami Vice. But I only half committed. I'm pretty disappointed.
You could have done better here.
I'm pretty disappointed in myself. But I think it all comes back down to when you are trying to compete. I think it's happening on the seller side too. It's happening less on the seller side because it's harder to get seller leads than it is buyer leads, right?
Yeah.
So I think buyer leads are a more competitive game. And if you honestly think that you're going to beat out...
Because it's less work.
Because it's less work. So if you think, though, that you're going to beat out Realtor.com, Zillow, USAA, Navy Fed, and all the others that are trying to get into that space to get a buyer's lead, and you think you're going to do a better job than they are at getting in front of the consumer, good luck.
Yep. Unless you're on the seller side and you snake them from the drive-by or the sign or your digital marketing you're targeting your open house.
The seller side is
at least you got a little bit of
it's
fun.
harder to get, yeah. So you have a better chance for sure.
So here's what the conversation evolved to this morning, right? The buyer side, I said buyer side's dead. If you're relying on buyer leads, your margin's going to keep dwindling until you're toast. So if anybody in here wants to be in business, there's only one business left inside this industry, and it's seller representation side. As a business, because it became really clear to me coming back from RGX and 121, when we get a chance to sit in front of a seller in their living room and we say, seller, I don't care if you hire us or not. I want to interview for the job. Let me explain to you what we bring to the table because it's extremely important. This is the largest financial transaction in your entire life, and you deserve to treat it this way. I need to talk to you about what we bring to the table, what I as an individual bring to the table, what my brokerage brings to the table, what my brand brings to the table, and what my parent company brings to the table. We need to talk about agency. We need to talk about how I'm going to represent you. We're going to talk about how my sales skills translate into putting more money in your pocket. For example, when somebody calls me, my phone rings, or I get a text message, or I get a lead routed to me, I have skill to realize, wait a second, this is a high D personality with a visual representational system that's asking me a certain question. Hey, real quick, I need to see this house. When can you show it to me? Right? Now I know how to represent to that person back. The next one says, hey, I was wondering when you can talk and you can tell me more about the community. Then I totally present your house in a totally different way to that person. And then, hey, when can I get a feel? When can you tell me about the neighborhood? It's the same house, but sold in 3 totally different languages with a skill set that's designed to know the difference, right? And then you throw agency, plus my ability, plus the brokerage, plus the brand, plus all that stuff. You have every gun in the world blazing, right? And that's, in my opinion, the only way to thrive and actually have a successful business going forward in the industry known as real estate is to become a badass negotiator, Jedi master, ass-kicking, representation, seller-minded machine, right? And
I agree.
It's important. Because
it is.
I can't stress it enough, guys, because those who I'm working with over here, we're doing a 2-hour separate workshop of complete, here's how the listing process goes. Not here's how the listing process should go. This is how the listing process goes. We're going to do this, then this, then this, and this. Here's the presentation. Here's how we talk about product positioning. Here's how we talk about the seller's cost estimator. Here's the presentation about marketing and strategy. Boom, 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 boom. Get that presentation down so then you can learn how to sell because that's it, right?
Well, now you're competing
fired up.
Now you're competing on value, right? And actually learning to compete on your skill set versus competing on price and discount, right? And I think that's where so many, because they either don't have the skill or are at a brokerage that unfortunately doesn't have the backing behind them to give them the tools and different marketing and different things that they can do So they have no choice but to sit there and try and compete on price. And that is a dangerous game. I don't care what industry you're in, but especially in this, because it's something that everyone can do. And all it does is end up discounting you and the brand, and it hurts the entire market.
And it's the worst thing you could do to a seller. I was just talking with an agent who is an interesting story on this one. I get the phone call. Hey, God, I got that listing.
All pumped up.
Right, pumped up. Dude, I got that listing. And then there's that pause. And I've been doing this long enough to know that the pause speaks volumes. And I'm like, and? Well, I had to take it at a discount. Can we take it? And I said, we could do anything we want, but why would we do that? Let's talk about the story on how this thing actually unfolded, right? And so what was the background of the story? It's a for sale by owner. Okay, great. Where are they moving? They're moving here. Why are they moving? They're moving here. He knows all the questions. And I said, where did it fall apart, right? And where did what fall apart? Where did you shortchanging the company, yourself, and your family come into play, right? And then it starts to get a little more quiet. What do you mean, right? Why did you roll over on something that's not rolloverable on this one? I mean, in our company, we protect the value of a 3% list side, and then we offer what's the competing marketplace is doing on the buyer side. That's just what we do. Yeah. Typically, it's 3% on both sides, 6% market rate. So we charge 3% on the marketing and strategic representation side. We have a huge proposal package put together marketing-wise about what we do. Right? I said, so what got lost in translation here? Like, where did it go? Where did it not happen? Like, because it wasn't, we really try to charge this. It's bullshit. This is what we charge is this for this.
Yep.
Right? And so if you don't want to pay this, you don't get this.
Right.
Right? So unfortunately, we don't unbundle, but it's like you walk into the Mercedes dealership and there's a entry-level E-Class.
Yep.
Right? And then there's a top of the line badass AMG package with the super 12-cylinder Mac Daddy rims, wheels, everything in the planet car too. There's a difference in price because there's a difference in offering packages. Now, you may not see the value in some of that, but other people do. So us as salespeople, right? Let me rephrase it. As salespeople, have to sell value.
Right.
That's where the disconnect is. So how could you just say, well, yeah, we could do it for 2.5%. What's your it? And there's the commoditization issue because they thought that this person was just like everybody else and that they should do it for what other people will do. So I think the value is lost. And this one, from an agent perspective, I said, wait a second. I said, it sounds easy to roll over and take something like that. But in this particular case, it wasn't an expensive house. It was only a couple $100,000, right? So a couple $100,000 times that, it worked out to about $800 difference to his family. Right? I said, so you easily just said, okay, fine, let me see if I could get it 2.5. I'll go talk to Jeff and see if I can talk him into it, right? You're going to have to sell me first, right?
Yeah.
And then, but why the hell did you do that? $800. I'm going to call your wife and I'm going to ask if she had a use for that $800 and your brand new baby, right? Yeah. Do you think $800 could have gone somewhere towards your lifestyle goals, right? For that, it might not sound like a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And you didn't even stand up for the value, and it was pissing me off because, it's what we do. I mean,
well,
1%, you're talking a couple grand. If you don't think in a negotiation that we can bring an extra couple grand from negotiation skills, you're out of your mind. And if we can't sell that as an industry, then we need to sharpen up some skills, or you got to get into a different industry because it's going to not end well unless you start to sell these things.
And the other side is not only did he discount himself, his family, the brokerage, he discounted the seller too.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. How?
I think that's an issue. I think, we can sit here and say, as an agent, and I'm sure there's agents watching that have done this, where you're looking at potential listings to send your client, right? Your buyer. And you see that two houses are very similar. One's at 6%, 3% to them, one's at 2.5% or 2%.
No, agents don't look at that.
You're not going to take them or maybe push or edge to the other one, right? You shouldn't, technically, right? But it happens. So when you look at the agent community, your job to that seller is to bring as many potential buyers as possible through that house. Even if you limit one, right, from seeing it, you have failed at doing what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
You have discounted the seller, right? Because there are people that will not or will do everything in their power to not show that house because they don't want a discounted commission because you couldn't sell.
I've heard of, there's a buyer, this is a recent thing. A buyer isn't working with one of our agents because they were actually working with another agent from another company. And that other agent said, well, I'm not going to show you that house because I heard that there was a mold situation in it. Right. And they drove them right by the house. And the people actually called because it was one of our listings and said, and they intentionally tried not to show this one agent's listing. The buyer said something didn't smell right about that story, called directly our agent. They ended up buying the house. But there's agents unscrupulously that do shit like that. So why set your seller up for that?
Why give it even the potential over what?
Go the other route, because if you in court were selling your house, right? Yep. I'm gonna say, look, we charge 3% on the listings in representation side, and let's look inside your neighborhood. Inside your neighborhood, we have 8 houses we're competing with right here. Mm-hmm. This little line right here, Mike, Courtney, look at this. It's a percentage. You're gonna see 2.5, 2.5, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2.5, 2.5, 3. Right? So what is that telling you? That is what the agents in the marketplace are gonna get paid if they sell this house. Now, which ones do you think they're gonna show first?
Yeah, the 3s.
Okay, so what some of my sellers are actually say, wait a second, what if we said 3.5? What do we now look like to the real estate community?
Yeah, you're the hero. Yeah, everyone wants to sell that house.
And in this case, it was a $200,000 house, the one with the agent from earlier. What, 0.5%? That's $1,000?
Yeah.
For to be the most attractive property on the marketplace to the entire agent community, that's a good strategy.
Do you want to know why new construction tends to sell so well?
Why?
Because the builders oftentimes are offering 5, 6, 7% commissions and incentives to the real estate community to push their new listings.
You want to drive that point home for a second? We loaded up 2 buses full of agents at our company right here to drive people's butts to Orlando. Right? This is an 1.5-hour drive up the interstate to go see a model home that was offering 10% commissions. Right? Now there's $700,000 houses, so it's $70,000 a pop. We sold a bunch of them.
And they obviously, some of them have margin.
But if they offered 2.5% commission, there wouldn't even been a thought about a bus.
Heck no.
Right? So the thought is, what do you do to get people to come? But it's a sales strategy, but people don't think about sales. And it frustrates me.
And then to further that, if you cannot sell your value, if honestly, as a potential seller, if you came to me and I won in that negotiation, I'm not hiring you. You can't even sell me on you and your value, and you're going to go sell the value of my home? Right. No, thank you.
That's a great point. That's actually a funny little script that people are using in their presentations
now. It should be, because honestly,
so let's role play that real quick. Say, Mike, I'll give you the listing, but only at 5%.
You know, honestly, we can have this conversation, but if you win, I don't want you to hire me. Because if I cannot sit here and sell you on my value and what we're going to do to sell your house, there is zero way that I'm going to be able to do that to a potential buyer, and you should not hire me.
Ouch. I mean, you want to talk about realness. That's real.
That's the reality, though, right?
Real.
And honestly, when someone instantly goes to the discounting the commission, they're usually a dominant personality who's really just trying to get something from you because that's how they operate. And if you take that dominant approach back, it usually will level the playing field a little bit and calm it down quite a bit, because they're going to realize, wait a minute. Now, there are situations, maybe they puff up. Maybe they tell you to get the hell out of their living room. Who knows, right?
Yep.
But maybe that's a good thing, and you probably shouldn't take that listing.
Well, here's an interesting parallel to that. We're working on a project. One of the projects we're working on the beach. There's a guy who's annoying the process right now. So I wanted to go hire a land use attorney to make sure something works. Now, there's a lot of choices on who I'm going to hire for this one. And the range of value is significant. Yeah. Now, the person that I engaged for this particular task of shredding is not the cheapest one on the block, and anywhere near the cheapest, is by far the most expensive option that was in the marketplace now. By far, like exponentially far apart. But I know what I'm getting as a result of that price. It's not price, it's the value. Because I know what's going to happen as a result of that engagement. and I suspect what will. I have a better shot of getting the outcome that I want by paying more.
Yes.
Right. And that's 100%. And I think that's why it's not a commodity. I could have gone to LegalZoom, right, and got somebody to give me an opinion and write a letter, but that wasn't going to give me the experience that I wanted to get at the end of the game. So why are you any different than that? You're not.
No.
Unless you allow yourself to be. Because I know, and you've seen it before, if there's a seller that is debating who they should hire, and we get a chance to pitch it, right, 9 times out of 10 for our brokerage, we're going to show that we have the passion, the heart, the skill, and the ability to win their confidence and trust and get the business.
Yep.
Right? It just happens because there's a passion involved, and there's an aspect of trust and ability and knowledge and skill and just tenacity that is not around, right? Yep. And that's just by design, because we work our freaking asses off and we're good at what we do because we've taken the time to be good at what we do. And I don't mind telling people that when we get a chance, because that's our job.
100%. I mean, shout out. This is a prime example of this. So I get a call from someone the other day, right, who I've met with one time. She called me up. She knew I was in real estate, and she said, "Hey, I've got a close friend of mine who I've been dealing with real estate here for a long time.
Yep.
I just want to make that clear. But I had her come interview for listing my house, and I'd like you to send me an agent. Can you send me someone? And I'd just like to have someone to compare it to. But I just want to preface this. It's not personal. I just know this other person really well."
Okay.
No problem. So I know her personality. I did meet with her. I know how she is. She's very direct. So I immediately call Susie here, right? And Susie's very direct. She's very, very good. But she's going to do a great job, right? So I send Susie over there. They meet. I get a text from her.
But pause real quick, the story. You did what everybody overlooks way too much. You actually went to neutral, thought about this, and said, what is the best experience that I could give to that seller that she would connect with somebody that would build trust, right?
Correct.
So that we kind of went over that pretty quickly, but I think that's really important.
It's huge, right? If they were super bubbly and like real talkative, Susie may not do so well in that environment. And she's pretty good.
She could turn that switch.
She could probably adapt, but a lot of agents couldn't, and I'd be very thoughtful of who I'm sending over in that situation. So I send Susie over there. Susie goes and meets with her. I get a text from the woman very shortly after. She goes, "I absolutely love Susie. I am going to go with her, not with my friend. She did a better job." And what Susie really did that stood out was something seemed off about the square footage of the house. Susie goes back, does a bunch of research, finds out that there's about 600 square feet of actual more space when they did an addition that was not originally on what they thought was on the listing. And they were able to add 600 square feet, which just raised that price significantly, because this is in a high price area of town. And we're talking about $1 million listing, right? That all happened because Susie put in the work and was able to actually be a good agent, but she had to relate to the customer too. We won that business over a relationship and a friend that had gone back years, because she just realized that we were that much better and we're going to bring that much more to the table.
I had a great, that's what it's about, right?
It really is.
One of the coachings I was doing with an agent earlier today is she's doing a fantastic job. Knew her with our company, came to us from a competitor, and she's doing great. She's working a for sale by owner that she knows that we're the best opportunity. In this particular case, they're going through a split up, the family is, and so she's got a lot. And the seller said, "I have, just so you know, I bought my house from Joe Smith over at whatever, Joe Smith Realty, we'll just leave the names out of it. And I feel very obligated to use him, just so you know," right? And so this particular case, so we were coaching about, what do I do next, right? What do you do next? Because a lot of people would say, screw it, that's not going to happen. Too much, that's the person they bought the house for, their friends, the deal's done. But I just happen to know the marketplace and that company pretty well, and I know what they can't bring to the table, because that's our job as competitors, correct? To know what your competition's doing and not doing, so you can exploit the differences, right? So to be able to say, look, that's a great person, that's a great office, but did you know that there's a significant difference in this case, it was how you were actually able to be represented, right? This is now an asset. This is now a house That's a asset that's going to be split. And I'd imagine you guys want to put every penny you can in your pocket, correct?
Yep.
Right? So let's put relationships aside. I'm glad we're not friends because I'm very good at my business. And I just need you to know the difference, because if you were to make that other decision, here's what you leave on the table that you can't have. Here's what we do, and here's why it's in your best interest to make that happen.
Yep.
Right? Do with it what you will, but this is it. And I said, look, you don't care about the business. You're doing just fine. You're making a lot of money. You don't need this deal. But for you to go over there and tell her, right, that in their best interest, they should not hire that person because it's not going to end as good as it could should they hire you or somebody else that can deliver this extra level of value, right? And so that's working very well because she just did that, and she's going to end up getting this listing on a result. But she went out there and actually sold the differences.
100%. And I highly doubt that couple is using the same divorce attorney.
That's where we went to.
I mean, like, that would be the first thing out of my mouth. Oh, so you guys are using the same divorce attorney to handle it, or how's that work? No, we each have our own. Why? Because they each have our best interests at heart. Okay, so why are you going to use a real estate agent who does not have both parties' best interests?
That cannot illegally have it.
Legally have your best interest at heart. So, I mean, yeah, it's an easy and a hard argument to win. But no, I mean, that's an excellent job. And that's the thing that we try and really hammer home are those differences so that, you know what, I mean, I think and I could be wrong, but I'd be willing to bet compared to most brokerages, we deal with price discounts less often than a lot because our agents do bring so much and we try and compete on value, not price or commission.
I think that's a huge takeaway, I think, from this is there's one of two ways you're running your business right now. And you're either competing on price or you're competing on value, right? And then we use this line all the time that I'm not surprised so-and-so said they would do it for X because if they can't compete on value, they have no choice but to compete on price.
Right.
Right? And then let's see their marketing plan. Let's see what they actually said they were going to go do. Let me show you what we're going to go do. And let's look at the differences, right?
Yep.
And then, you know, many times if you think, then, and we have the same conversation a lot, if you don't see the value in the things that we do, then we're probably not the right fit.
Right.
And that's okay. When the guy walks into the Mercedes dealership and says, but I can get the Volkswagen for $20,000 less,
Go buy it.
Sorry, that's not a client, right?
Buy a Volkswagen.
Go buy the Volkswagen. So which one are you? Nothing against Volkswagens. Right, it's the example, but what are you in your marketplace? Now, you could be the used Hyundai, right?
Yep.
That's fine. There's a place for everybody, and you can charge $42 to list a house if you want. If that's your place and that's what you want to sit in that, do it. But don't complain that you're only making $42 when that's the value you're presenting. Right? You got to know where you are and what your position is in the marketplace, and you know there's a spectrum. There's room. It's all about value. So what are you bringing to your clients, and do you know how to sell it? Because if you're just showing up and saying, "Oh, you want to list your house with me," right? You're just going down that spiral of.
But you know, I think that's a valuable point. I think the takeaway here for me is just own whatever it is that whatever business you're gonna do it, own it and commit to it. You know, think about some of these discount places, right? Mm-hmm. That'll do it for zero or very close.
Yep.
But they have limited service, right?
And there's a place for it.
If you went to them and said, but I want more, are they going to say, okay, we'll do more? No.
This is what we do.
Sorry, this is what we do. You're going to need to go somewhere else. They don't change.
Yep.
They don't change their business for anyone.
Yep.
It is what it is. We do this, and you're either like this or you don't work with us, right? Yet for some reason, agents don't do that. Agents try and be everything to everyone, and you can't physically build a business that way. You just can't do it.
Certainly not with one with integrity.
No, I mean, could you maybe do a deal here and there? Yeah, but honestly, I think those deals would be more damaging to your overall business than they would help.
Now, if somebody's selling their house and buying a new one, you want to give them a little break and a rebate here,
I mean,
fine. It's
there's
business.
Ways to do it.
Yeah.
But I would still be very smart about how I did that. Because again, if you're truly working in your client's best interest, it is not in their best interest. It's just not. And so if you're going to do it for them, there's got to be a more creative way that you work that out at closing or on the back end. Like there's got to be something else that's done because you gotta always work in their best interest.
Right. And I think if you work in your client's best interest, and show them what that is, you're always going to be fine. And don't be afraid to walk away from a transaction when it's not really the transaction you should be in. Because as we say all the time, one good appointment a week, you're making deep, nice six figures in this industry. So you do not need to whore yourself out for anything less than the value that you actually are. Right. So just to your point, own what you are, but be able to really portray what you are and be who you are, and don't deviate from it, and just own it. Get your presentation skills up. Right. Get them. Totally internalize your presentation, guys, so you can walk into a room and turn the switch. Am I going D, I, S, or C today? I go in VAK. My words don't change. My presentation does. And then anybody, also, we got a lot of advanced time on this one, though. What are we doing April 22nd? Are
we doing something?
We
I was going to sleep in that day.
Nope.
We're doing next level. We are doing 3 days.
3 days.
All intensive, 10 to 4 out of Apollo Beach. If you're in the area, you want to attend. We have people coming down from out of state. We've got
quite a few coming from out of state.
From all over to attend. It's free. There's no cost. But a 3-day all intensive deep dive into every aspect of the business. And highly worth it. So if you can make it, if you're in the area, I highly suggest.
Reach out and we'll put you on the list.
Reach out to us.
Part of the BE3 tribe, baby.
And
that's what we're doing.
Final takeaway: white jackets are cool.
Yeah, everybody has their own interpretations of it all. Looking slick, though. Guys, thanks for watching. Own your value. Let us know what we can do to help you. Thanks for watching.